What if I told you there's a real place on Earth that evolved almost as if it existed on a different planet? An island where nature broke the rules, rewrote evolution, and created life forms found nowhere else on Earth. A place scientists call one of the strangest biological experiments in history. This is Madagascar, an ancient mystery disguised as an island. A world that drifted away long before humans ever existed. Most people think they know Madagascar, but the version you're imagining is only 1% of the story. If you stay with me for the next few minutes, you'll discover how this island became Earth's most mysterious anomaly, and why what's happening there right now could rewrite everything we think we know about life on our planet. The island that drifted away from time. Picture a colossal chunk of land quietly drifting away from India, millions of years before humans even existed. No witnesses, no maps. Just a silent voyage through the Indian Ocean. That's how Madagascar began its long, lonely story, floating 400 kilometers off Africa's east coast. While continents collided and reshaped the planet, Madagascar stayed apart, isolated, undisturbed. It became a natural laboratory where evolution wasn't rushed, it experimented. The result? Life forms so bizarre they could have stepped out of a dream. When biologists first arrived here, they couldn't believe what they found. Lemurs, tiny primates with golden eyes, leaping through ancient forests untouched for millennia. Chameleons that change color like living jewels. And plants that looks like they were designed by a sculptor with no concept of symmetry. More than 90% of Madagascar's species exist nowhere else on Earth, not even in neighboring Africa. Think about that. Almost an entire ecosystem invented from scratch. Scientists sometimes call it a mini-continent, but that feels too small for the imagination this island holds. And then there are the baobabs, those massive trees that look like someone flipped the world upside down. Locals say they were planted by the gods in anger, roots reaching for the sky. Some of them are over 800 years old, standing guard over the red earth like ancient sentinels. Walk among them and you feel it, that eerie sense that the world around you is older than time itself. But Madagascar isn't just a relic of the past. It's a living, breathing ecosystem still evolving. Every forest here hums differently. The east glows with rainforests that trap clouds in their canopy. The south is all spiny desert, alien, sharp, and stubbornly alive. And in between, savannas roll across the highlands, home to people who've learned to live within nature's unpredictable moods. Its separation made it a biological time capsule, but isolation comes at a cost. Over centuries, the same distance that protected Madagascar's wildlife also cut it off from help. Deforestation, poverty, and illegal logging now carve away at the edges of its beauty. The irony? The island that survived alone for 88 million years might struggle most because of the world that finally found it. But still, there's something resilient here. Maybe it's in the rhythm of the Malagasy people, whose ancestors came not from Africa, but from Indonesia. Imagine that journey across the Indian Ocean, thousands of miles by canoe. They brought language, rice cultivation, and their own myths, blending them with African roots into one of the world's most unique cultures. The island's very name was a mistake. Marco Polo confused it with Mogadishu. But the identity that grew here, that's no accident. It's an evolution of its own, a fusion of sea routes, migrations, and survival. And just when you think you understand this island, you meet the creatures that don't play by any rules of nature, you know. Some hunt like ghosts, some vanish into rock, and some, they've never been filmed in daylight. The strangest cast nature ever created. Stepping into Madagascar's forests is like stepping into another planet's idea of Earth. Everything here moves differently, sounds different, and even feels different. The air is thick with humidity, and bird calls you can't place. Leaves shimmer in impossible greens. And then, something rustles above. Two golden eyes watch you, unblinking. That's a lemur, the island's unofficial mascot, and the symbol of everything that makes Madagascar so otherworldly. Lemurs aren't just cute tree huggers. They're survivors of an ancient lineage that broke off from other primates tens of millions of years ago. While monkeys and apes evolved elsewhere, lemurs took their own path, adapting to rainforests, deserts, and mountaintops. Some are as small as your hand. Others, like the Indri, sing morning duets that echo across the canopy like flutes. Their songs aren't just beautiful. They're territorial markers, emotional bonds, even lullabies for their young. And here's a fact most people don't know. Lemurs exist only in Madagascar. Not one species anywhere else on Earth. When you realize that, every encounter feels like watching the last pages of a living encyclopedia, still being written, but fading fast. Then there's the fossa, Madagascar's top predator. It looks like a sleek cat but moves like a weasel and hunts like a shadow. The fossa can leap between branches with eerie silence, ambushing lemurs midair. It's neither fully feline nor canine, just fossa, the island's own evolutionary invention. But Madagascar doesn't stop at predators. It's the chameleon capital of the world, home to more than half of all known species. There's the tiny Brachytia micra, small enough to stand on your fingertip, and the massive Parsons chameleon, longer than a human forearm. Their eyes rotate independently like miniature radar dishes, scanning for insects. When they strike, their tongues shoot out faster than a blink, literally. Scientists call Madagascar a genetic treasure chest, because isolation gave evolution free rein. Without lions or elephants, smaller species rose to fill the gaps. Nature went experimental, mixing features, trying odd combinations, seeing what worked. And somehow, it all did. But it's not just animals. The island's plants are just as strange. Baobabs with trunks thick as buses, spiny forests that look like coral reefs flipped upside down, orchids that bloom only once a decade, and only if a specific moth pollinates them. Darwin himself predicted the moth before it was even discovered, based on the flower's anatomy alone. That's Madagascar. It doesn't just surprise you. It proves your imagination wasn't big enough. And yet, for all this wonder, much of it remains unknown. Over 100 new species are discovered here every year. Frogs the size of coins. Lizards that mimic bark so perfectly you'd step on one and never know. Every expedition rewrites the island's biology textbooks. As night falls, glowing eyes appear among the trees and the air fills with soft clicks, songs, and whispers. Madagascar may be fragile, but it's still alive, still rewriting nature's script under the cover of darkness. And hidden within that darkness lies a landscape even stranger than its wildlife, where stone itself seems alive, and the earth rises like blades of glass. The stone forest and the bones beneath. At first glance, Madagascar looks lush, soft, and green. But then, the landscape cracks open, and you find yourself staring at something that looks almost extraterrestrial. Imagine a forest made of knives. Thousands of limestone spires rising like frozen waves stretch as far as the horizon. Locals call it Tsingy, which in Malagasy means where one cannot walk barefoot. It's not poetic exaggeration. The rock is razor sharp. One slip, and the earth itself will cut you open. This is the Tsingy de Bemaraha, one of the most surreal places on the planet. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, it's part canyon, part maze, part cathedral. Sculpted over millions of years by rain and wind, the formations reach up to 70 meters tall, creating a labyrinth so complex that even sunlight struggles to find its way down. In some areas, bridges hang between stone towers, swaying over voids that seem to go on forever. But life, as always in Madagascar, found a way to thrive in the impossible. Inside this stone jungle live creatures that shouldn't logically exist here. Tiny lemurs leaping across spires, geckos that vanish into the rock, birds nesting in crevices no human foot has ever reached. It's nature's paradox, a place that looks dead but pulses with hidden life. Scientists say the Tsingy is like an open-air time capsule. The limestone itself was once part of an ancient seabed, full of fossilized shells and coral. When Madagascar drifted away from India, this ocean floor was lifted up and sculpted by time. Walk here, and you're literally stepping on the bones of an ancient sea, now turned to stone. But beyond its alien beauty, the Tsingy tells a story about resilience. The people who live near it, the Sakalava, have adapted to the landscape, just as remarkably as the wildlife. They use narrow paths known only to them, climbing cliffs with hands and feet hardened by generations. For them, the Tsingy isn't just geography, it's sacred. They believe spirits live in its shadows, guarding the passage between the living and the dead. Travelers still leave offerings of honey, rum, or cloth at the edges before venturing in, not out of fear, but respect. And then there's the Avenue of the Baobabs, not far from here. A stretch of dirt road lined with colossal trees that look like they've been planted upside down. Some are over 800 years old, their trunks swollen like water tanks, storing moisture to survive the dry season. At sunset, the sky turns gold, and the baobabs stand like silent witnesses to centuries of droughts, wars, and rebirths. It's the kind of view that freezes time, as if the island itself is reminding you how long it's been here, and how briefly you'll stay. Underneath this landscape lies another story, one written not by stone, but by bones. Madagascar's fossil beds have revealed ancient giants, elephant birds taller than a man, pygmy, hippos that once waded through its swamps, and lemurs as big as gorillas. All extinct now, all clues to a lost world that evolution once painted here. And yet, the island still whispers their memory, in footprints, in rituals, in the songs of those who remember. Because here, the line between life and death, past and present, isn't a line at all. It's a circle, one that still turns. And if you follow that circle, it leads straight into the heart of Madagascar's living soul. Its people, a culture built from 2 continents, countless ancestors, and 1,000 stories still unfolding. The people of 2 worlds. If Madagascar's landscapes feel like they belong to another planet, its people feel like they belong to 2, because they do. The Malagasy trace their ancestry to both Southeast Asia and East Africa, an extraordinary human blend that still puzzles historians. Thousands of years ago, Austronesian voyagers sailed across the Indian Ocean in wooden canoes, guided only by stars and currents. They carried rice, bananas, and their language, the same linguistic roots spoken in Borneo and Sulawesi. When they landed on this island, they met African migrants from across the Mozambique Channel, and the fusion that followed created something utterly unique, the Malagasy identity. You can hear it in their language, a melodic tongue that sounds more like Polynesian than African. You can see it in their faces, fine features, coiled hair, almond eyes, echoes of 2 oceans meeting. And you can feel it in the rhythm of their lives. Rice paddies shimmer in the highlands, just as they do in Indonesia. But on the coast, African drums and rituals pulse through the air at night. Every gesture, every song, is a bridge between 2 worlds. But identity here isn't just about ancestry, it's about continuity. The Malagasy live close to their ancestors, not metaphorically, but literally. Every few years, families perform famadihana, the turning of the bones. It's not a funeral, it's a reunion. They exhume their ancestors' remains, rewrap them in fresh silk, and dance with them to the rhythm of drums and accordions. There's laughter, music, and storytelling, because to them, death isn't an ending. It's a second conversation. When you see a grandmother holding the bones of her own grandmother, smiling, spinning, singing, you realize that in Madagascar, memory is alive. This deep respect for ancestry extends to their beliefs about the land. Many sacred forests are protected not by law, but by fedi, traditional taboos. Cutting certain trees, hunting specific animals, or even whistling in certain places is forbidden. To outsiders, it might seem superstitious, but it's actually a cultural form of environmental protection. Fadi kept entire ecosystems safe for centuries, long before conservation became a word. Despite their deep traditions, Malagasy people are also pragmatic survivors. Madagascar is among the world's poorest nations, but you wouldn't know it by its resilience. In towns like Antananarivo, life is vibrant. Streets hum with zebu carts, tuk-tuks, and markets bursting with color. Craftsmen weave silk, carve zebu horns, and turn recycled cans into model cars that look like toys, but carry pride. This blend of hardship and ingenuity defines the island's heartbeat. And even through poverty, there's a remarkable grace, a sense that community matters more than wealth. Children walk miles to school with laughter that echoes louder than their hunger. Families share what little they have, not because they can, but because they must. Walk through a village at sunset, and you'll see kids chasing each other through rice fields, old men repairing fishing nets, and women pounding cassava into rhythm. It's a kind of harmony that feels both ancient and enduring, as if the island itself taught them patience. And that balance is what makes Madagascar feel eternal, because on this island, every generation rewrites the same story: how to live with nature, not over it. Some of that story still lies offshore, in its turquoise waters and coral kingdoms, where another world entirely waits, shimmering just beneath the surface. The ocean that guards the island. From the sky, Madagascar looks like a tear falling into the Indian Ocean, and maybe that's what it is. A piece of land forever pulled between solitude and connection. The ocean is both its shield and its challenge. It kept the island isolated for 88 million years, protecting its creatures, shaping its people. But today, it also defines their survival. Down on the coast, everything moves to the rhythm of the tide. The Vezo people, often called the nomads of the sea, live in villages built from mangrove wood and sail the turquoise shallows in hand-carved pirogues. Their boats have no engines, just wind and memory. They read the ocean like a living map, where the currents twist, where the fish sleep, where the storms whisper before they break. For the Vezo, the sea isn't a boundary. It's home. And beneath those calm waves lies one of the world's most beautiful and most endangered marine ecosystems. Madagascar's coral reefs stretch along thousands of kilometers of coastline, glowing with life in every color you can imagine. Clownfish dart through anemones. Sea turtles glide past coral gardens. It looks eternal, but it isn't. Rising sea temperatures and overfishing are slowly unthreading the fabric of this underwater world. The irony runs deep. The same isolation that preserved Madagascar's land for millions of years can't protect its seas from global warming. In some regions, entire coral fields have bleached ghost white, like underwater graveyards. Yet in others, Conservation groups are working with local fishermen to restore reefs by hand, one coral fragment at a time. It's slow, back-breaking work, but it's also hope, rooted in salt water. The ocean feeds more than half the island. From dawn till dusk, fishermen push out their canoes, and by evening, markets fill with silver flashes of mackerel, lobster, and squid. There's no refrigeration, no middleman, just ocean, labor, and faith. Every fish caught is a day's wage, every storm a gamble. And yet, even in hardship, the sea gives rhythm to their lives. Along the east coast, the cyclones come each year like clockwork, reshaping shorelines and washing away roads. Yet somehow, the people rebuild again and again. The ocean tests them, but it also teaches them endurance. In Madagascar, survival is a dialogue with nature. You don't conquer it, you negotiate. Standing on the cliffs of the northern coast near Diego Suarez, the view is almost deceptive. Emerald bays, wind-sculpted rocks, and waters so clear they look painted. But beyond that, beauty lies a deeper truth. This ocean, for all its calm, hides centuries of stories. Arab traders, Indonesian voyagers, African migrants, they all came by sea. The currents that shaped the land also carried cultures, faiths, and trade. The ocean is how Madagascar met the world, and how the world first misunderstood it. Marco Polo never set foot here, yet his error gave the island its name. A simple mix-up, and suddenly, history had a new word: Madagascar. The sea, as always, makes and unmakes the world's maps. Today, new travelers come the same way, chasing not spices or empire, but wonder. Divers explore shipwrecks turned to coral havens. Scientists track migrating whales through underwater canyons, and coastal children, barefoot and sunburned, chase crabs through the tide pools, as if learning the ocean's language by heart. But the real story of this sea isn't told in data or maps. It's in the way it holds the island, gently, dangerously, endlessly. And when the sun drops behind the horizon and the waves turn to silver, you start to understand. Madagascar isn't just surrounded by the ocean, it's defined by it. Still, beyond its reefs and coasts lies something even more mysterious, a future written by its own contradictions. Because this island, ancient and fragile, is standing at a crossroads, the choice between preservation and progress. Madagascar's fragile future. Madagascar has always lived on the edge of continents, of ecosystems, of time itself. But now, it's balancing on a new edge, one carved by human hands. Every year, more of its forests vanish. The trees that once shaded lemurs and chameleons fall to fires and axes. Villagers burn land for crops. Because when you have to feed your children today, tomorrow feels like another country. It's called TAVI, slash and burn agriculture, a centuries-old survival tactic, that's slowly consuming the island's lungs. The numbers are brutal. In just 6 decades, Madagascar has lost over 40% of its forests. With them go species found nowhere else on Earth. Tiny frogs that glow like jewels, orchids that bloom once a decade, and lemurs whose songs might soon be silenced forever. Scientists say, if the trend continues, more than half of Madagascar's species could disappear within our lifetime. But the story isn't just about loss, because even here, hope roots deep, like the baobab. Across the island, communities are rewriting what survival means. In the northeast, villagers are planting mangroves, learning that a living coastline protects both fish and families. In Ranomafana, women's cooperatives are turning wild silk into fashion, proof that nature's gifts don't have to be destroyed to have value. And in the highlands, reforestation teams rise with the mist, carrying seedlings in baskets, planting one dream at a time. Each tree is a small rebellion against despair. The world is watching, but slowly. Madagascar isn't a headline country. It doesn't have oil or gold or armies. It has lemurs, forests, and a story too quiet for breaking news. Yet, in a century of climate change, this island is a warning wrapped in wonder, a glimpse of what happens when isolation meets exploitation. Satellite images show the wounds, brown scars spreading across green. But on the ground, children still run barefoot through rice fields, laughing under skies that look impossibly blue. They grow up knowing lemurs not as cartoons, but as neighbors. And maybe that's where the island's future begins, not in policies or pledges, but in that bond between people and place, because for all its strangeness, Madagascar's story is our own. A tale of beauty and damage, of species adapting or vanishing under pressures we created. It asks a quiet question. Can we learn to live with the wild before the wild forgets how to live with us? And as the sun sets over the avenue of the baobabs, those ancient trees stand like sentinels, watching, waiting. They've survived everything the earth has thrown their way. The question now is, will we let them survive us? So, what is Madagascar, really? It's not just an island you visit. It's a place that stays with you, a land that keeps its heartbeat steady between two worlds, the one that survives untouched and the one that struggles to endure. You come chasing lemurs and baobabs, but what you remember are the people, the forests, the ocean, the Vezo fishermen balancing on a pirogue at sunrise, reading the waves like they were written in the stars. The farmer in the highlands, planting rice by hand, following rhythms older than any calendar. The elder in a Chingi village, pointing to jagged spires, telling stories of spirits and ancestors who walk between stone and sky. Here, time doesn't flow in straight lines. And as you leave, you realize Madagascar isn't just a nature documentary. The forests, the coast, the stone forests, they were only the entry point. The real journey is into survival, resilience, and wonder itself. Because this is an island that refuses to be simplified. It's not just baobabs, not just lemurs, not just coral or tsingy. It's the space between them, where the wild meets the human, where the ancient meets the urgent, where life persists, fragile but defiant. That's Madagascar. Not a destination, a revelation,